The decision not to go with fossil fuels does not have to be done later. That was guidance that we've already issued from the Sustainability Committee, and a preliminary design has already been done for showing that the non-carbon options are a better life cycle benefit. So carrying carbon-based heating and cooling systems forward is not my understanding of the recommendations from this committee, nor is it sustainable in any reasonable way. When the gas bill comes in to the residents of Reading, there is no state or federal offset for that. That's going to go right to the ratepayer. And if the ratepayer has to pay for energy costs, I'd rather put that money toward books and supplies for the school, put solar on the roof, and have that provide the energy to the system. Much more sustainable, much more future-looking, and provide better value to the town. So I don't know how this committee can emphasize the need that carbon-based options is not necessary. Even the need for a generator is not necessary. With a solar roof, you would have a battery backup. Battery backup would be used regularly to transfer power generated during the peak part of the day to the late afternoon and evening, and then could provide power whenever the outside access to the outside grid was not available. So however this committee can voice its recommendation to look toward the ground source heat pump or the ground source heat pump with air source heat pump combined, I think that ought to be a clear definition. And I think we've got enough information on the footprint, the energy loss through the walls using conventional engineering design to reach that decision. Ground source heat pumps are not new. This is a design manual of ground source heat pump. I have 2 wells in my yard and they've been operating for over 12 years. It's well-established technology. It is a 6-inch hole in the ground which has a 2-inch pipe, 2 2-inch pipes which go down and come back. You move a fluid through it. That fluid transfers heat from the ground to the space. It's driven by a small water pump. That's how heat is transferred from the ground to the building. It is more efficient than air source heat pumps, but I get in a tight site that there might be a need for certain times where that would have to be. But the design of the wells should be a directive that we begin to get ground depth profiles so that we could begin to design a ground source heat pump system, and a priority done that, priority directive done to do that. Now you want to know what's in the ground. That's also available. This is a pamphlet of maps which covers Reading. They are geologic maps. They'll tell you what's under the ground. Not precisely, which is the same reason why you do test pits. When you do surface conditions, you do a well when you want ground level conditions. What you're testing for with a well is the ability for that vertical profile to conduct heat. And that helps you in the design. Then I'll tell you whether you need to go 300 feet, 500 feet, or 600 feet down into the ground to put the wells. Given that there is established guidance for ground source heat pumps, there's information to base that design on, and plenty of operational experience in the town, is supported by MSBA. Please, my question is, how does this group convey the message that responsible sustainability includes an all-electric building fully or partially funded by ground source heat pump? I'm glad to answer any questions based on experience of my system, but that recommendation needs to come from this group.
Jenny, the select board needs to call themselves to order.
I'd like to call the select board to order. Is there somebody online?
Yes, Mr. Haley is online.
Chris?
There you go.
Mark? Thank you.
Thank you. Do I need to also have that? Okay. Thank you, Raymond, for your well-informed and spirited advocacy and comments. I fully agree. We are moving forward with all due speed to continue to investigate the geothermal option and answer some of the questions that we have about logistics, cost, and schedule. So we're working with a geothermal well driller, Brightcore. We've gotten a test well proposal. We are waiting to get some information back from them about kind of site planning, logistics, schedules, and things like that. So we are certainly moving with all due haste to get all the information that the school building committee feels that they need in order to make an informed decision. And we're not there yet. I guess that's all. So we're still gathering information in order to enable them to make an informed decision. Do you want to add anything, Mike?
I think that's just what we're doing over. I think you summed that very well, Jenny. I think just the only thing I would say is that's what's happening over the next 30 to 60 days. That's what we're doing, is we're making sure that the committee has the information so they can make a proper informed decision. To your point, the community has weighed in on your desire, and that has been heard. We've got to do our due diligence to be able to provide confirmation of that, basically. So.
My only point of order is not just my desire. I think this is the desire that's come out of the Sustainability Committee. It's not just my desire. It's the desire that the Sustainability Committee, as a group that's been participated in this process from the start, has expressed from the very beginning. So it's a community value. It's not about me.
I said the community's desire.
Karen.
This is a plant question. I was wondering if the superintendent could talk to us about how this might meet the needs of centralized pre-K.
Can I just say the mic situation is a little awkward?
All right, here we go. Karen, so was the question referring to like this design and how it will meet the needs? I think something that the educators were really excited about with design B1 was the idea of having all 12 of the pre-K classrooms sort of in one level and kind of all around all of the services that students will need. So if you look closely on that map, not only is all the 12 classrooms kind of go around in a circle, but also all the services, speech language pathologist, OT, PT, director, all kind of in that hub. So they feel that builds what is a kind of a community right there where all the students will see each other, the staff will be close with each other, and all the services will be right there. Particularly as we have some students with some, are fragile with some medical needs, to have access to services in close proximity will be really helpful. They think also having some of those kind of shared spaces will allow like flexible groupings with students, and they also think having their own space in the basement of the building, not like first floor of the building, will they give them sort of a separate feel for them, which is important for pre-K, but not too isolated that there can't be opportunities for integration when they feel like they want that as well. So they felt that this model was probably the most conducive to that type of community that we think is really important in the at that level. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with the model?
The only thing I would add to is that in the next 50 years, preschool is going to continue to expand, and universal preschool continues to be a conversation. So I think really strategically planning this now is going to benefit the community long term. And it is really choppy with preschool currently. While we love having them, there's 2 classrooms kind of in the back of our building. There's 2 at Wood End. There's constantly people coming in and out, trying to rush 10 minutes across town to make the next service. So it really, having everyone right there, I think would extremely benefit our students and really be a draw for our community.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up question, and it's been discussed in other meetings. So will we be able to meet all of the demand for centralized pre-K with this design?
Sorry.
Jenny, can you a second, can you turn off the slide so people can see the roof a little bit?
Great question. So I think there's, right now we have about 60 students on our wait list for next year, and we have about 180 students enrolled. And this, right now we have, that's our 180 students enrolled across 10 classrooms. So this model also now includes 2 additional classrooms. So if you kind of run the numbers of about, 15 to 18 students per, we're still expecting that there'll be a little bit of a wait list in the community. This will not fully meet the demand of what we know is for pre-K. As we weighed that out, we just didn't think we'd be able to build 14, 16 classrooms in a way that would make sense for the building. So we thought that this was sort of the biggest that we could do on that space in a way that was still, to keep the cost as low as we could. The other challenge that we're facing is we've seen the last couple of years a significant increase in the amount of special education referrals. And as you know, we are required to provide special education programming for students 3, 4, and 5 years old in the community who are not yet kindergarten aged. So we think that this will, as we're expecting an uptick over the next, decade, we expect this structure will allow us to, at a minimum, ensure that we can meet the needs of all of our students with disabilities that are required services. But also, as you know, in terms of the ratio, having to have classrooms that are also, within compliance of 50% of students who are not on IEPs, you can kind of see how we have to make sure we can match sort of the need for our students with disabilities and also our students who are not on IEPs. So unfortunately, I think we'll still continue to have a wait list for, the foreseeable future, but I'm not quite sure that there is a way around that with through this project, unfortunately.
Thank you. Can you speak to school safety as far as like active shooters and whatnot, and how plans address that and what the plan is for that? Thanks.
Absolutely. Great question. So school safety is obviously super important. We've learned, we have a kind of set of best practices that we've learned over the last couple decades of designing schools in this environment with active shooter incidents in schools. And some of those are things like having a controlled entry, so limiting the number of exterior doors, because the biggest challenge with school safety is the human factor. So people leave doors propped open, they leave doors unlocked. So the more we can do to control entry to just one or a few central points. And then there's certain strategies that we have around designing the entrance so that staff have good visibility and good controls to be able to evaluate visitors at actually a few different levels before they're able to enter into the school. I'm sure you've seen setups like that in like your high school or maybe in some different schools. And we are now at a point that over the next couple of months, we'll be setting up a security meeting to meet with our security consultant, with police in town, to kind of review those approaches and make sure that the strategies that we're implementing are the right ones. Yeah.
I appreciate that question too. Something I want to add is that we were able to do a bunch of school visits and tours over the past couple of months, and I think something I really appreciated was seeing in a lot of the new buildings, being able to hear about some of the technology features of a lot of the new buildings too, that would allow certain spots of the building to be locked off or have doors locked off with the press of a button. And to be honest, those are not things that we have in all of our building right now. I remember being at a school in a neighboring district where after the main lobby, sort of the doors that entered into to the main like academic corridor, they were able to shut down and lock with just one press of a button. So I think I'm eager to also be able to hear more about sort of all of those features as we go through the next phases of the process. But I think at a minimum, we saw that there was a lot of different options we would have to ensure that the buildings are as safe as they could be. You just learned something else,
They also have some really cool vestibules that instead of just walking right into the building, you come in, you're almost in a small foyer that you could still talk with the secretary, and then there's another door that they would have to also let you in to access any academic space.
Exactly.
I'd just like to add, I actually worked on a number of schools that you guys toured. I work as a code consultant, so I review these types of buildings for compliance and accessibility. And one of the things that is coming out is an NFPA standard specifically about school shootings and preparing schools to be in the best position while also maintaining life safety.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
I do acknowledge this comment is something that we'll be dealing with down the line, but I do want to make it solar panels and solar arrays. I think at this point we can only just ask that the roof design be structurally designed to be able to handle panels. I know RMLD has been working with the town manager on the Parker School and have been discussing various mechanisms for doing solar arrays there, whether it's town-owned, utility-owned, power purchase agreement, roof rental. There's a lot of different strategies there. I think just understanding that solar power is a part of the program, and that as you get into structural design, understand the roof would be having that load and design that. That's obviously down the road. It's not a point, but parking lot also is a place. It's a lot of area. Creates shade for cars, rain protection, but it is also a structural element and will take up land area when you count car spaces. So again, understand it's not going to show up yet, but it should be part of the overall configuration.
Thank you. Also great comments. And those are some of the comments we got at the last meeting of the Sustainability Working Group. And in response to that, we did get some preliminary pricing in the last round of cost estimating for solar on the roof, and also solar canopies over the parking lot, which will be vital information to play into that decision-making process as we get there. I'll also add that having the roof be solar ready, we will definitely, I believe that is a requirement. Yeah, it's a requirement, so we're going to do that. Thank you. Anyone else? Really great questions tonight. Anybody online?
Not right now. I just asked the group online if there are any questions, but I'm not going to raise hands.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I'm an environmental guy. What can I say? Again, more of a general question. This is really, I agree, it's down the road, but water use, water quality, heating and cooling water. Are there thoughts? Is that anything about that evolved? There are things, solar roof panels, which can provide hot water. There's one such panel on my house. You might have guessed that. Water efficiency is also an energy efficiency aspect. On the other hand, you've got a lot of kids who probably will use water a lot at one time during periods, so you have to account for that peak demand. Where does that stand, and how does that go in, and how will water efficiency and water heating and cooling be factored in?
We have not considered solar hot water. We might look into it. I think we can continue to talk about it with the Sustainability Working Group. Definitely in terms of high efficiency fixtures and low flow fixtures and all of that. We'll definitely implement all of those approaches. Kind of tuning our sustainability strategy to the place where we live. We know water is not our most urgent concern here in the wet Northeast. So I think the guidance that we have from the sustainability working group is, do the low-hanging fruit on water conservation, sustainability. That's not the place to go crazy. Let's really focus our efforts on decarbonizing. That's the priority.
Hi, my husband just texted me a question to ask. He's home with the kids. He was at an earlier meeting and there was a lot of talk about traffic and road safety, and it had come up that there was the possibility of putting in a four-way stop at the intersection of Charles Street and Wakefield Street, which we live near there. It's pretty dangerous, and just wondering if there was any decisions made on that.
Great question. So 2 answers. We will be having another traffic and site planning meeting. I think it will be in October or November. So we'll talk more about that then. So as part of our traffic analysis, we made some recommendations for what we call off-site improvements. So those are improvements like off the property line of the Killam School. And those are recommendations that we've made to the town. I see Matt is here. Maybe he can speak to what's going on with those.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is something we're currently looking at and already have made a lot of improvements down there. The police department is well aware. So it's something we have an eye on, and we know it's a really important issue to a lot of people in the neighborhood. So like we said, we're going to be working on it more and more going forward. But the police department is keeping an active look down there, even currently. So. Did they? Oh, great.
Thank you. Lindsay said they added a speed sign this week. This morning.
Thank you. I know I asked about the modulars last time, but what I was wondering even more specifically is the Killam modulars, plural. Will those still be there during after construction?
They will be there during construction. After construction of the new building, once we start to demolish the old building, then something else will happen to them. And I don't know what that is. It might move elsewhere. That's a possibility. I don't know how much life those have in them is a question.
We thought 20 years, right? Was the Linda, I think you might remember that better than I do, but I think it was around 20 years was the number that was given.
That's what I remember. And that up till then, they would be actually saleable to recoup some of the funding invested.
And as you know, we're kind of getting closer to that now, probably by the end of the project. And I think my thought would be we'd have to look at where we are with enrollment trends. I think the hope is that we wouldn't necessarily need to move them elsewhere, but I think it would be too early to say since we're a couple of years out.
Okay, any other questions? I'm gonna put my presentation back up because I didn't show the last slide, which was the next steps. Okay, so we will submit that PSR report next Wednesday to the MSBA. Then there's a review process. They review, then we review their review, and they review our review of their review. And then eventually goes to the MSBA board. Will meet on October 30th. And at that meeting, they will approve the project to proceed to SD, the next schematic design, which is the next phase. And then we will already, after August 21st, we'll already be working on schematic design because we can't really wait. But we will have, our next community meeting will be in mid-October, and then we'll have one in November as well. And one of those will be focused, I think the topics of those, we don't know which one will be which yet. One topic will be site and traffic, and then the other topic will be community use. So like playgrounds, gym, issues like that. That's all. Unless there are any more questions, that's all we have. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, talk about it.